Hello, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Sam Schubert, and today I'll be talking about my intervention, which was to implement the use of intake forms with the peer coaching team at DePaul University. The coaching program at DePaul is a retention building initiative aimed at freshmen. They are paired up with an upperclassman who serves as a guide in connecting them to resources on campus, and they assist in setting goals and creating plans. As a coach, the initial session was often the most difficult. We attempted to learn about our students' backgrounds, current situations, goals, and address areas related to their social, mental, and physical well being. Many coaches had difficulty with structuring the first session to be able to gather adequate information. The structure was also helpful in explaining the program and prefacing future sessions. So the main purpose of this intervention was to assess if and how DePaul's peer success coaches would benefit from using intake forms to guide initial sessions. My learning objectives focused on increasing the coach's comfort in leading the initial session and increase the number of second sessions. After polling the coaches, these were the common issues they faced in initial sessions: difficulty structuring the first session, transitioning into goal setting, securing a second session, the session feeling too short, and general lack of confidence in leading the session. The target population here is the coaches themselves and indirectly their students. Looking at the demographics, coaches were juniors, seniors, and graduate students. 63% identified as female, 33% as male, and 4% as non-binary. Out of the total 27 coaches, 13 identified as people of color. Intake forms are a staple in counseling, and based on the needs of the coaches, the forms seem like an easy way to help them progress in the areas that were common issues, as we stated before. Many programs use counseling techniques in general, and half of them already use intake forms, but it can be more widely implemented. The methodology was fairly simple. After assessing the needs of coaches, they were all provided the same intake form, as well as instructions on leading the first session. I sent a survey out to the coaches at the end of winter quarter, and results were evaluated on two criteria: the success coach's feeling of personal improvement and the difference in the number of second sessions acquired. In total, 5 coaches responded to the survey. First, we'll take a look at the coaches' perceived changes in themselves. In this graph, you'll see that the coaches felt the intake form was either helpful or very helpful in the areas listed. Overall, it seems like they were more comfortable with the skills by the end of the quarter. All of them also attributed these changes at least partially to the intake form. As you can see, everyone felt like it helped in leading the first session and in transitioning to goal setting. So overall, it helped with the structure of the session. Some felt that it helped in securing a second session with students, and many felt it aided in the length of the session. The last 2 points here are especially interesting because you'll see on the next slide that while coaches felt it did not aid them in securing a second session, those numbers dramatically increased by the end of the quarter. Without the form, coaches only had 6% of their students return for a second session. And by the end of the quarter, those numbers increased to 60%. Also, even though coaches felt like the form had helped the length of their sessions, in reality, it only had a small effect overall. The average time only slightly increased, but generally stayed the same. Lastly, and I think most importantly though, all participants would recommend the intake form to future coaches. Here are a few quotes from the survey. Generally, students were especially appreciative of the form helping guide their conversations. That was a common theme from the survey. Lastly, I would recommend that the DePaul coaching program implement the intake form as a regular tool for coaches. As they're building resources for next year, there's certainly room to expand the current form It should lay out specific guidelines for the first session while allowing room for individualization both for the student's needs and the coach's style. Overall, I believe it will create a more polished presentation for the program and help coaches, particularly the newer ones, lead initial sessions. Thank you for watching this presentation.